This is Saving the City, where we talk about how cities sometimes get it wrong and also how they can get it right. The post-war Federal Redevelopment Initiative tore down and rebuilt whole neighborhoods in cities across the United States. These plans often did go wrong, destroying communities with no consultation or a good plan for their relocation and future. But today, let's look at a place in Philadelphia where things actually went kinda right. A little neighborhood called Yorktown.
Yorktown is kind of a unique area because it was a brand new community. It was a little difficult to purchase a brand new home in certain areas because you were sort of blacklisted.
Philadelphia's housing in the 1950s was unbelievably segregated. This was by design, both by the city and the banks. The result was that in only 1% of the region's new housing stock was it possible for Black people to rent or get a mortgage.
So Yorktown was a new development designed by a young developer named Norman Denny, and it was supposed to be a mixed race, mixed income community, but it never succeeded in that. What it did succeed in was becoming a middle-class African-American neighborhood.
Let's introduce three prime movers here: developer Norman Denny, Pastor Bill Gray Jr., and legendary city planner Ed Bacon. Each of them knew how to get a hand on the levers of power. First, Norman Denny, already a successful developer in Philadelphia and chief architect of the Yorktown project.
Yeah, Mr. Denny was a very interesting man. He really did care about the development because I think he had a lot of pride in what he was doing.
To make way for the development, the city would bulldoze 12 crumbling blocks beginning in the late 1950s. On one of those blocks was Bright Hope Baptist Church, where Denny met its pastor, William H. Gray, Jr. Their talks about where to relocate the church turned into a real collaboration and brought the local brethren into the conversation.
My father worked with Denny to push the concept that we could build a middle-income home ownership community right in the heart of what was once a slum.
And lastly, we have Ed Bacon, a pioneer in trying to create integrated middle-income communities.
Ed Bacon was really interesting. He was the city planning director, a largely advisory role where he didn't actually control the purse strings of these federal funds, and yet he became the figurehead of this whole urban renewal era.
The past visions of the future do not serve us today. Time now to build our own visions of the city of the future.
Eleanor Bacon is one of Ed's daughters, who followed his path into urban development.
He learned how to work with mayors and private sector people and the city council and the public to make things happen, because that was his driving thing. It was to make things happen, not just to have visionary plans in the sky.
Bacon, who is the only city planner to have graced the cover of Time magazine, was a big proponent of Yorktown. So where is Yorktown? Philadelphia is organized on the grid axes of Market and Broad Streets. Yorktown is located to the north. Most Philadelphians would identify the area by nearby Temple University. It had been mostly composed of cheap housing for local factory workers.
We didn't visit this area much, but we heard a lot about it because it had a reputation. It wasn't a place that you would want to raise a young family. It wasn't well kept.
As they cleaned it up and they leveled all the places in the area to build Yorktown, it turned out to be a real fabulous idea.
Denny, Gray, and Bacon teamed up to get the word out, and the news immediately lit up the minds of future Yorktown residents.
My husband, when he came home, that's all he could talk about. That is where we're going to move. That is where we're going to raise our children. We're going to buy in Yorktown.
He said, you know, the advertisement sounds good. I'm going to go over and look at it. So he left one Sunday morning and did so. When he came back, he was very enthusiastic about it, and he was telling me this, you got to go over and look. So I said, okay, we'll take a ride over.
It was in all the newspapers, and we were curious. So one Sunday after church, I decided to come down and look at the sample homes. and I was pretty impressed. Well, it was a new home. Like my wife said, and I hate to say this, but she said, I like to be the first one to sit on the toilet. So that was kind of interesting.
Norman Denny not only built Yorktown, he also founded the Lincoln National Bank, which offered low down payment mortgages to black homebuyers in Yorktown.
All the houses were snapped up very, very quickly. They were sold. It became a black middle-class neighborhood.
We moved into a cul-de-sac because of the safety of the community, and it was just so beautiful.
I lived on a main street, and but each street had a cul-de-sac. And that, of course, is where the children played the most. We played every day. We had hide and seek. We played double dutch. Every game you could even imagine. We felt very safe, never feeling like we were in harm's way in any way.
Everyone came over to us and introduced themselves. And that made you feel special. I like that part of it, yeah. We felt actually special to move there.
Yorktown flowered as a middle-class black neighborhood, which in some ways was almost by mistake.
It was supposed to be an interracial community, and what happened was that the blacks were so overwhelmed with the idea of living into a new home and into a nice community that they just wanted to buy, and so they were buying the homes before anybody else could get their hands on it. I think that a number of white people didn't want to move in here because they weren't sure how this community was going to work. Over the years, they found out that it's a nice investment. So now we're getting a more integrated community.
The beauty of Yorktown, this is what I tell everyone all the time, is Yorktown, we did the American dream, for real. We really, really did.
But Yorktown is changing. You may have noticed that most of our interviewees are of an older set. We interviewed them at the local Yorktown Arms retirement community, where they were able to retire in place.
There are changes that have taken place. A lot of our elder members, including my husband, passed away a few months ago. But there's such a closeness, there's such a family, there's such a connection to assist if there's a need among the Yorktown family.
The parents grew their children up, sent them off to college. They got good grades, they did everything that they were supposed to do while their families were here, and they moved out and they bought their own, they started to create their own quote-unquote Yorktown, if you want to call it that.
Exciting and innovative ideas are emerging from the cities of the past and our own contemporary cities. We will see how the visions of people shape the cities we know now.
One of the things we talked about always when we were little is the power of the vision. Even if you pass on, that vision will continue to be implemented because it was so powerful.
Yorktown, the coming together of a developer with a strong belief in equal housing rights, a city planner who envisioned an integrated neighborhood, and a pastor with roots in the community, all made it possible for a generation of Black Philadelphians to achieve the dream of a forever home.